The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Every journey begins with a simple act of care. For Quest to Unite Africa, that journey started with something simple: a mother, a newborn, and a promise that no life would be forgotten. We did not begin with buildings, we began with people. We packed mother newborn kits with our own hands because real change starts where the need is greatest. Those kids traveled farther than we imagined, and they opened our eyes to a deeper truth. Aid saves lives, but infrastructure saves generations. So we grew. Together with donors, volunteers, and partners, we sent a medical container to Burkina Faso. Not just supplies, but hope. Not just boxes, but proof that when a community comes together, healing moves across borders. That moment changed us because we realized something powerful. We weren't just delivering help, we were building a future. Now, the journey continues. The next chapter is bigger than a shipment, bigger than a campaign. We are raising funds to build a state-of-the-art hospital, a place where mothers can give birth safely, where families can find care close to home, and where communities can grow stronger for generations to come. This hospital is not just a structure, it's a promise. A promise that healthcare will no longer be temporary. A promise that dignity will have a permanent home. And just like every step before, we cannot do this alone. Every gift, every brick, every name placed on the founder path becomes part of a story that began with compassion and is growing into legacy. It helps us move from emergency aid to lasting healing, from containers to care that never leaves, from vision to reality. Join us, stand with us, help us build a hospital that will serve generations, moving healthcare into action. Visit q2ua.org today.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Here we go. Shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. Let's get to the news. So, that's a little. It's interesting. Oh, what a day! What a time! What an hour to be alive! And I'm going to say it is because this is something that honestly, our forefathers, they were waiting to see this day. They were waiting to see this hour, this moment. And you know what? You know what, papaya and pepper? Oh my goodness. Said Pound, leaving the world behind. And yes, this is a literal leave the world behind moment because, you know, there's a couple of different things going on with everything. Um, you know, a lot of these products that I have online, it's not about, well, growing your business and will consult to bring your business to the next level and bring the next level of your business to the next level, you know, the multi-marketing scheme, which by and large it worked in an economy that it was allowed to flourish in. The problem is, yeah, you have a little bit of relationships, you have a little bit of growth, you have a little bit of this and that, how to do your business, how to do this and do that. And I don't know if you, and we're gonna cover this, but that was all great. However, if you didn't have the actual insight or foresight to understand how your business actually works, how this economy actually works, then all you're doing was, you know, you're just doing what you're doing because you didn't know any better. Oh, well, I'm just going to continue to do business and business and business. Well, guess what? It takes money from the outside to come to the inside. It takes money from the rest of the nations to fuel what's happening in here. And again, people that don't know that, they had been left high and dry. People that didn't know that are now in the process in this last quarter, they're getting pink slips. Companies are going under right now. This is day 20. This is now a 20-day war. And now you have all of these different signs and signals that shows you, Houston, you have a serious problem. A tremendously serious problem. You have a problem of credibility. You have a problem now with the loss of funds, the loss of economic activity. Did you hear me? Even economic activity, the lifeline of this Ponzi scheme known as the United States. I'm sorry, it is what it is. And nobody's participating in the Ponzi scheme. Hey, it was great when the Ponzi worked. But the problem was, as the excuse me, as the Ponzi scheme had no longer been effective, the issue became that was out of control. And you can tell it's out of control, it was out of their control. And the reality was this: due to the fact that things were out of their control, they wanted to. I found it. This is a movie I was talking about. This is someone yesterday. I gotta share this. Oh, we'll see if I can share it because YouTube be hating on me when I share this stuff. This is from an epic, this is a classic Jet Li movie. Back in the day, here is Tybo. He is the representative of Donald Trump, in my opinion. Not just Donald Trump. That's the impact, the effect. The spiritual mechanism is the impact and greed from that. So let me just bring this here. This is America, and this is the rest of the nations, and they are in a fight. And the rest of the nations are trying to do what they can because they're robbing people. This group of people, they're robbing from their own people. And they're saying that everything is fine, because he's under the authority of the government. But let me show you, because this scene was a scene that always caught my eye. It was, visually stunning, because this is what we saw this week. Let me do this.
I hope you're prepared to die.
So that's what he said to Iran. Iran was taking the hits. Here we go. They come back, they're striking. And there it is. There it is. Okay. There it is. Iran said, we're going to push you back. You can't handle this. I want you. I'm sorry. I got to have you see this. This is it. I got to have you see this. It gets pushed back. Strait of Hormuz, no. I need NATO backup. You go. I'm not doing anything with you. You go. You go, you go, you go. when my dude starts kicking people in the back to confront I'm sorry, but I had to give you that visual depiction. YouTube, this is fair use for entertainment purposes only for the express fact of educational purposes. Perfect example. Was it not? Was that not a perfect example? I'm sorry, that was it. And you know, it left me. Oh no! And you need to watch that movie Tai Chi Master. Tai Chi Master. Yo, Ty Bo, basically, you have BB in the background. It was an old white dude with white hair, and he powdered his face to make himself even whiter. And Ty Bo got rid of him by slitting his throat. I'm telling you, I don't look that Tai Chi Master. Oh my goodness. Again, you have to watch that movie. That's a great example of today because throughout the movie, the synopsis of this was that Jet Li's character in the front right there. And what ends up happening is that because he had been betrayed, and this is a characteristic of the nations, and I'm going to say this is a characteristic of the East, especially these Eastern nations that had really been under something different. And when I say under something different, look, back in 1945, after towards the end of the Japanese War, it wasn't the fact that in World War II things were wrapping up, but people always had to ask themselves, why did they use the nuclear, why did they drop the atomic bomb? And a lot of people didn't understand. Japan had actually given up. They were already in the diplomatic talks, like what you see right now. So don't think that what you saw in Iran, with Iran is something new. They've done that. And you know what that does? That triggers people. Do you know right now Japan is triggered? And all these other nations are triggered because they know they don't have a partner that they can trust. But it wasn't a partnership that was of trust. It was a partnership that was of fear. Because their fear was that at any time they could be the next country being nuked. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. Why did they engage with them the first time? because of fear. They were scared. I would have never done that. I would have. Okay, until you're put in that position to where you're ahead of any state, guess what? People cower and they kowtow. They lick boots. They get demoralized. See, y'all don't understand what actually happens in the background. They come on out after their meetings and everything else like that. We had a good talk. No, they didn't have a talk. They were being humiliated off of the cameras because why? Because they're being told that they ain't crap, they ain't nothing, right? What does that sound like? I think we've all gone through that before. Now, if you don't want to have bad things office, you better or off happen to you. You better understand what happens when you leave this office. You got it? Now smile. Everybody thinks that the president was just, in the office was just a really nice guy and things that no, they're selected. This is a nation of fierce countenance. And we just think, oh, fierce countenance. Oh, well, they're the good guys, and this is fierce countenance. Because many of us are really ignorant to understand what happens behind the scenes. Oh, you shake the hands, photo ops, this and that. Yeah, until you get deleted. See, the reality is all of their tricks are out of the bag because now what Iran has done, Iran has literally kicked the US in the face. For the whole world to see, they got kicked in the face. They got a Jet Li kick. They got that Tai Chi master kick, and then that's what they look like. You see my man right here? This is what the rest of the world looks like. Head turning, all on the ground. Are you really able to do that to the United States? And if you see that, they're not trying to destroy. They're not wantonly going after just civilian targets. What it looks like to me, it looks like they have a very competent intelligence structure that has updated its joint targeting list so that they are able to reduce civilian casualties. But now do you see the rest of the world now has to think about it and take a look. What are we fighting for? Why are we doing this? Who really benefits from this? Whatever Margarita says, what Iran has done has given everyone else permission and gained courage to go against the U.S. Yeah, you all think that security in the United States. They're in a panic. That's what military bases were for. What's to protect U.S. interests? People didn't even know what those key words were. Up until literally what Trump did, people didn't understand what that meant. Oh, we got to secure our interest. American citizens didn't even know what that was. We got to secure our interest, I guess. Oh, you mean? Oh, you mean we're being the bullies here? We're being the bad guys here? Well, yep, here. And I said that. It says, we are now bringing home bodies in unmarked planes into different places all over the country because the media or anyone else is now not able to film the bodies, the planes, or the bodies coming out. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have that one ceremony, and then everybody else, when they get the remains, shut up. And here's what they do. This is how they can do it. They'll tell them this: if you go public, if you say something that you're not authorized to say, then what they will do is they'll threaten to withhold the SGLI. And that's the Service Members Group Life Insurance, SGLI. And any type of final disposition monies that they'll have. Like I think like the last month's pay or like last 30 days pay and things of that nature, as well as other combat entitlements and benefits because they were in a conflict zone, VA things. Yeah, they will withhold benefits. Absolutely. So if you say anything, if you do anything, then, you have potentially $500,000 on the line. And with that, especially if you are a young a widow or widower, especially with children, you're not going to say anything. All right, let me just take this money. Do you know that that money right now can't even hardly buy you a house? It will buy you a shed. You can't even get a decent house. You have a decent down payment. Back in the day, 400,000, especially when I was in, median house prices were about 200,000. That would actually get you a pretty decent house that's paid for. Get your vehicle that's paid for, and then you could be able to live comfortably for about 2 or 3 years until you would be able to get over the grief to be able to work and get back into the workforce. Those days are gone. At 500,000, that's the current limit. I've had that conversation because that's the same conversation I've had with my cousin, same conversation I've had with some of my friends that are still in. Now, if you are a widow or a widower, here you go. Thank you for your service. And then you'll have just enough money to put something down, and then you got to go to work immediately. If you can find a decent job. Oh, remember all the Gold Star stuff, all the preferential spouses and everything else stuff, especially within the federal government. You know that all that doesn't go on right now because that was DEI. Oh, boy. Sorry, all your veteran preferences and, things of that nature up. That's DEI. Sorry for your unfortunate outcome. But here's the thing. You got to remember right now, as a people that gets battered and things of that nature, and I like to go back to this movie because what ended up happening in this movie, in order for these nations to rally against the wicked or the people to rally against the wicked tyrant, the tyrant was basically paying off people so he could do wickedness. And in this movie, one of the people that he was trying to woo, the character who was the love interest, she didn't succumb to the money and the position and the status, and basically the evil person, the antagonist, killed her with his own bare hands by basically karate chopping her in the back of the neck, and she spits out blood. And it was a very dramatic scene because it showed what the power of what wickedness can do, especially with the love of money. This is what this movie is about. A person that loved money opposed to a person that loved justice, humility, and meekness. Go ahead, brother Fast Nickel. Shalom.
Shalom. I'm more so here until your European correspondence come on. But you're on point with everything you're saying.
Well, I know I'm on point. YouTube lets me know that I'm on point when I get shadow banned and then I get copyright striked and all this other stuff. The negatives lets me know that I'm doing the absolute positives.
Yeah, you know, in one of the videos that I sent you and Brother Yacoba, it talked about the meeting that's coming up in April with China and the US. So in the next 4 weeks, or I should say more like the next 5 weeks, a lot is going to happen. There's going to be a lot of transitioning.
It is because the transition is that what China was already doing. China was already getting out of the dollar business anyway. Back in late January, early February, they were already leaving. That was already known. So then what ended up happening is, look, everything that's done, you have to think about it's a 2-month window. It's a 60-day window. So when China had said that, I'm like, okay, count 60 days. Yes, something's going to happen between now and 60 days. You're in the midst of a war in 60 days. You're now going to be in the midst of a chaotic energy crisis that is looming. That energy crisis is here. They just don't want to tell you it's here because they're running game with the numbers, because that's how this thing works. Well, I got to do this. I can, move that around. I can work this around. That's how that works. So part of the final strategy, right? Remember what ended up happening? What was the talks with Russia and with Putin and Trump? Did anything effective come out of there? No. Matter of fact, right after there, Putin went harder on who? On Ukraine. You literally had talks with the Iranians. Well, look how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have a situation where you don't have money in the stock market like that because really China's taking its liquidity, the funds, they're no longer buying bonds. And on top of that, guess what? Japan is also selling its bonds because of their carry trade, because they're trying to keep afloat. This is the perfect time for China, or excuse me, for Japan to basically cash on out, because they could say, well, the instability of the dollar, has caused us to do this, this, and this. Now they can scapegoat their carry trade. They can scapegoat all of that based off of the United States. The U.S. made itself vulnerable. And now that vulnerability is here. And guess what? If the U.S. Well, here's the thing. It's not if. The U.S. can't service its debts. As much as Bissent's trying to say, oh, we could service our debts and things of that nature. Actually, no, they can't.
But that's just something that they say on the surface, but they never intended to service the debt.
Bingo. Bingo. You know what you see where I'm coming from.
They plan to go heavier into debt because they know it's over.
Yes. Do you know what? Do you know that they've already surpassed $39 trillion in the national debt? They've already surpassed it. Remember with Doge, oh yeah, our debt's going to be coming down and it's going to come down, and right? No, this thing is going to balloon out of control. Remember I told you, I said, listen, they probably have already spent at least about $3 trillion. I kid you not. Because there's a lot more economic interest that is involved, and Brother Faststickle knows some of the things I do on the backside. I get my stuff from the source. The source. Okay? I mean, look, I already told you my background. I'm a retired intelligence officer. I still have some good friends. And in a conversation I had just recently, while the friend that I'm talking to is literally under active missile fire, we had a very interesting conversation. And, not to go over too much of the details, but basically it's this. The U.S. killed its relationship with the Arabs. It's done. It's done. And you have to understand what the U.S. is all about is that petrodollar. And I want to share this article. I just put it in the chat, so I'm going to share this. This is from Financial Times. Trump ally warns U.S. economy not strong enough to cope with Iran war. One-time pick to lead key statistics, E.J. Anthony, says inflation was worse than we thought even before conflict. Oh, boy. Donald Trump's one-time pick to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics had said the U.S. economy is too weak to handle oil at $100 per barrel, as he warned of rising consumer prices triggered by the war in Iran. I don't think this is an economy that is going to be able to handle $100 a barrel for oil. It's just not. Wait a second. E.J. Anthony told the FT the economy is weaker than we thought it was, and inflation is worse than we thought it was. He added in a call on Wednesday, that was yesterday, shortly before the Federal Reserve's March rate setting meeting. The lower energy prices that we saw in 2025 helped put downward pressure on prices throughout the economy. Now we're going to see higher energy prices. have exactly the opposite effect and put upward pressure on prices throughout the economy. And just to let you know, Trump picked Anthony, the Conservative Heritage Foundation's chief economist, to lead the U.S. Labor Statistics Agency in August, shortly after firing the former commissioner for a gloomy jobs report that the president claimed was rigged. They didn't want to operate in reality. I'm not saying it. This is according to Financial Times. I don't know what to tell you. Brother Fast Nickel, that conversation that we had about April.
Well, I was just going to say, when you were saying about the conversation that we had last evening, so although you're reading this report, and this is a report that's anybody could read, they already know, they know that the economy is on a spaghetti string. It's not like they don't know. They know, but it's all part of what their plan is. But the other thing that you mentioned about the Arabs.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Not to talk about the Arabs, but the thing that's I don't know if you want to
you can talk about them. I talk to the Arabs. Listen,
no. I'm not talking about the Arabs, but what I'm talking about is you mentioned
my friend may be listening on this conversation. Look, I try to be truthful with them. I tell them straight to their face. They don't lie to you. I said I joke with them like you need to listen to Keith Sweat. Back in the day, Keith Sweat, they don't lie to me, baby.
Yes.
No.
He always does. But you mentioned yesterday about Canada. And here's the real thing to realize. It's the Anglo-Saxon countries that are even now turned their back.
Yep. Oh my goodness!
It's not a big deal that the Arabs did, but the fact that the Anglo-Saxon, because that's really their posse.
Yeah, because the Anglo-Saxons, they were watching Tai Chi Master, the Jet Li movie. Free yourself. Free yourself. They're like, free ourselves from the United States. Free ourselves. Yo.
You know how you say you and Brother Jacoba say that anytime soon it's a good chance the channels get taken down. And it just came to my mind. It's not even necessarily about what you say. They may use that as the excuse, but if they really want to control people, they're going to make even the ways that you can make money independently, they're going to take it away from you because they're trying to control everybody.
Well, that's a good segue because I have this on out here. This is from Yahoo Finance. I put that link in the chat. Powell, job creation is near zero. Fed sees unemployment holding at 4.4%, which is higher. Don't get it twisted. It's higher. Amid labor force growth driven by immigration declines and lower participation rates. Basically, they're getting rid of people. And people have stopped trying.
Right.
Because there's no jobs. So job creation in the U.S. is slowed to essentially zero, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said Wednesday, as the Fed released its latest economic projections, which included slightly higher economic growth than previously projected and little change to the unemployment rate. Although altogether, Powell said central bankers see a degree of stability in the labor market. It's a lie. You can't have stability when you have zero job growth. And, I'm going to tell you that when you see all this stuff, and here's the thing, and he's saying this right here. Effectively, there's zero net job creation in the private sector after accounting for revisions over the past 6 months, Powell said. But Actually, that looks like that's about what the economy needs. No, it's not. The economy actually needs to grow. So all of this stuff, they're lying, and the lies, it's not for us. They don't care, especially not for black folks. They really don't care. It's not for us. So they have to keep the positive image no matter what, because it's for them folks, because when they know that they can't just up and be mobile about getting a job, then guess what? Then they're going to literally form up with other people, and then they're going to literally go crazy. You had the person, again, I want to allude to this. You had the person, the 21-year-old from out of somewhere in North Carolina near the Charlotte area. And that's what he literally self-deleted himself with a shotgun and a can of gas. I didn't know what that was all about. They're in West Palm Beach on the other side of the state from me. And they covered that story up very quickly. Because why? Because what that would signal and portend to other Caucasian males is that people are deleting themselves because they don't see a bright future. Matter of fact, there is no future. Not here in the United States, not anymore. I'm sorry if I have to be bleak about it.
So you brought up a point about the economy needs to grow. So I have seen videos in the past where it talks about that as your economy grows, or your people, your workforce grows, that is actually what builds your economy. So the fact that they have AI and taking people out, I mean, they already know. They know what they're doing is actually hurting, but what they're doing goes towards their agenda with this whole end times playbook. So it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it is. It is. And remember, look, if you really think about it, they're trying to level the bubbles, per se, in terms of human capital, literally cattle capital. They're looking at population reductions. You know that whole thing by Deagle report where it came from 300 some odd million to about 90 million. That's true.
Right. So everything that was supposed to that we thought was going to happen last year looks like it's going to happen this year.
Mm-hmm. So if you have it through war, if you have it through famine, or if you have it through reverse migration or emigration, not immigration, but an emigration, i.e., fleeing, i.e., refugee status. This is what you would consider when you're leaving a place, because you have to become literally an economic refugee. We're getting to economic refugee numbers. I'm sorry if people feel uncomfortable with this. I'm not saying this. This is what Jerome Powell was saying. The chairman of the governor of the board of the Federal Reserve. This is the person that owns and controls the money. They're not going to cut rates. Look, this is just, it's in a tailspin. This is a tailspin. Aren't you going to make money cheaper for us? No, we can't, because nobody's buying bonds. Aren't you going to do this? No, we can't. Continue to cut people. Because then what are those people going to do? They're going to either do criminal activity, or they're going to self-delete. And in this day and age, they self-delete with others participating in their deletion. i.e., you're going to start to see a lot more horror stories with people losing their jobs and then everybody suffered for it, especially family members.
Yeah, and unless you have cash, you're in trouble, because when you look at it, even let's say you own a home, with the way interest rates are, you can't even refinance because it's too expensive.
No, they can't refinance. And on top of that, even those that are trying to buy homes, the interest rates are ridiculous. And they're looking at it thinking that, well, I'm going to pay this high behind interest rate, and then in a couple of years, I'll be able to refi it. Look, even the way that they're thinking is nonsensical. How are you going to refinance when China's clearly pulling money? How are you going to refinance with Japan that's saying, "Oh, it's time to release the zip cord and get that parachute on out and get out of here"?
It's funny. The houses that were, let's say, $300,000 that people could afford, they lowered the interest rate to give you the false sense of security that you can afford a $500,000 house. But now you're in a house that you can't get out of because the interest rates are now high.
Yep. Here's this. And I want to show this because this is real-time data, folks. This is actually all real-time data. I'm sharing this with you. That's why I said, look, this is going to be a very, very meaty conversation today. So again, please stay tuned so you don't miss what I'm trying to say, because to be honest, this is something that you really need to think about in terms of how you're planning your future. I'm not here giving financial advice. I'm not doing it. I'm not. But the advice I am giving you is you need to be able to think about what it is that, what could be in the bank. You realize that anything that you have in the bank, guess what? When the worst comes to worst, guess who could seize it? The U.S. But that's my money. Yeah, you didn't read the fine print. And I think
that's exactly why the people that are part of my membership, they know that I constantly talk about having your own wallet, because people think that money in the bank is their money. No, it's not. It's really the bank's money. So right now, if they're not going to give you any interest for your money, you're better off keeping it in your closet, because at least it's 9/10 of the law. Keeping it in the bank is not doing you any good. They can shut the door, shut down the ATMs, and then what do you do?
Yep. Yeah, because again, even during any type of economic emergencies, they can go on in there, they can raid your homes. They can raid your homes for anything of value. Yes, they can. Y'all don't understand national security and executive orders. Go ahead.
What if they do like Greece and put a limit to how much you can take out an ATM?
Yeah, they're doing that right now already. Think about how much money. Like, I think now you can only get like not even 4,000 a withdrawal a day. That was happening back in 2023. That didn't lift. If you wanted more money, then you have to actually call, and it's like at least 7 to 10 days for them to process that, because it has to go up through the Treasury, and then it has to go through other clearances, through the SEC and all this other nonsense. It's all there. This is documented. Well, I'm just going to hold on. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. And then you're going to understand, well, what is that parable? The parable with well, I just took my money and I buried it. You go. So, all right. So let me do this. This is CNBC. Oil briefly hits 119 and Europe gas prices surge After attacks on energy facilities in Qatar and Iran, oil and gas prices jump. So it's going to continue to jump. So it went up to 119. It then went up to 114. It's jumping in real time. So what Trump is trying to do, so we fall in between the international benchmark of the Brent crude with 114 47 and the West Texas Intermediate of 97.59. That's where we were. Our oil prices are in between there. Okay, so the moment that really what we're seeing is the West Texas Intermediate. When West Texas Intermediate hits around, I would say about the 120, 125 mark, that's when we're in trouble. Or I would say that's when we're in even worse trouble, because the West Texas Intermediate is for the amount of barrels that the U.S. currently has on hand. And on top of that, what the U.S. is actually having to do, they're actually now having to keep steady supply to these nations affected. That's how this oil thing works. The U.S. doesn't want to use its oil because guess what? The more the U.S. uses its oil, then guess what you don't have on hand for the U.S. consumer base? Oil. And so if supply goes low, then prices go high.
I put a link in the private chat if you want to share it. It's showing the fuel prices in California.
Yeah, I'm sharing that right now.
When you look at that chart, so it's saying that the national average is $3.80. California average is almost $2 more, but that's just the California average. In some places of California, it's already close to $7. It's about $6.50. They're talking about if oil goes to $150, California could probably see $11, $12 a gallon.
Yeah. Yeah, California, and my thing is this: is that what they want to do? Because the reality is, how do you survive as a nation? Matter of fact, how do you survive as a state?
Right,
and you're already at 39 trillion. Yeah, go ahead.
Because California is a farming state, so it's one thing to tell your employees, okay, work remote. But what about people who have to physically go to a job, whether it be farming, whatever? They can't even afford to leave their house.
No. Yeah, that affects everything. That affects people commute. So telecommuting would be something there. Yeah, Minister Rick, I see you. There you go. You get you connected. Shalom, Minister Rick. You're on mute.
And just to finish that point you're saying, people don't realize California might be a state, but in terms of the produce that they produce, it's on the level of a country. I mean, a majority of the produce that the rest of the country uses comes from California.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Man, look, all these electric bicycles. Do you know how many times I've seen an electric bicycle get hit here in the Tampa Bay area? These folks be getting hit left and right. They don't be paying attention with these electric bicycles. let me go here. Because we have a lot to cover. Oh my goodness, it's a lot to cover. Look, 114, 111, things are just moving. Here is this. And this is crazy because, again, like I said, this is crazy. Let me go ahead. I'm going to share this with you all. And that's why, look, like I said, these other nations are not very happy with the United States. They'll say that they are. They'll say this. They'll say that. But at the end of the day, they're plotting because if with a friend like the U.S., man, who really needs enemies? You know what I'm like? Who needs enemies? So let me get into this article. Um, Let me go here. Trump threatens to blow up major Iranian gas field as energy prices soar higher. This is an hour ago. The markets hadn't even really opened. Not in the US. This is an hour ago. This is from the Washington Post by Victoria Kral and Siham Shamalak. This is about an hour ago. President Donald Trump threatened to massively blow up Iran's South Pars gas field if Iran continues attacking Qatar as intensifying strikes on oil and gas. If it continues to attack Qatar. Didn't Iran get hit first by those folks from out of an air base used by Qatar? Do you see what's ended up happening? They're getting thrown under the bus. The Arabs are getting thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
I need to bring up that Tai Chi movie so y'all can see how them poor Arabs are just getting thrown to the Jet Li character just to get spun around. They have no idea. They're getting worked. It's sad. But when you wanted to do the bidding, then this is what happens at the very end. All this stuff is going to be burnt down. There's no coming back from this. All right, here we go. If Iran continues attacking Qatar as intensifying strikes on oil and gas facilities have drawn Persian Gulf states further into the war and sent energy prices soaring. The price of Brent crude, the global oil benchmark, climbed past $117 per barrel Thursday morning as Gulf states reported missile and drone attacks on critical infrastructure. Qatar state-owned energy company said several liquefied natural gas facilities were hit by missile attacks early Thursday, causing fires and extensive further damage. In addition to the attacks on Ras Laffan Industrial City, a hub for exports of LNG a day earlier. Here's the kicker. This is what I was going to get into because here's the kicker. Kuwait's National Petroleum Company reported 2 refineries were targeted by drones causing fires. Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Defense said that it was assessing damage after a drone strike at Samref refinery and that it had intercepted a ballistic missile launched toward the port of Yanbu on the Red Sea. Well, they didn't just intercept it. It actually did hit Yanbu port. So that had been verified. Now, what they're reporting, they don't want to report that it got hit. It got hit. And that is majorly, I'm going to tell you, let me show you this. Let me get into my maps. I told you, bear with me because Google doesn't like my maps, especially when I start displaying that during these live streams. So bear with me. So when we're looking at things, again, Saudi Arabia straddles 2 different places. It are on the sea. It has obviously the Persian Gulf, and then it also has the Red Sea. And yeah, give me a second because this is going to be interesting. Here we go. Yep, there's the industrial zone. All right, perfect. All right, so I'm going to share this tab. Okay, so this is Saudi Aramco refinery. This is it. That's Sam
Can
Raff.
you remove the comment?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Give me a second. There you go. There we go. And I'll blow this on up more so you all can see this. All right. So that's the Sam Raff. So this is the Saudi crude oil right here. This is the terminal. That terminal then pumps on out right here. These are actually pumping ports. These are pumping stations that are right here. That's where it goes. They hook it on up, and it gets the tankers get filled on up right there. This is the actual refinery right here. These are all the tanks. This is your refining process areas. These are very, very critical points. The storage holding tanks. And then they go from there. This has been actually under threat a couple of different times. The Houthis usually target this. Your Petrojet, this is it. This right here is at least several hundred billions of dollars. Several hundred, especially right now, because let me bring this on out so you can see in this map. You have that, then you go into the mountains. You have, this is literally right, I would say probably about an hour or two from Medina. And then from there, that 60 will get you right into Riyadh. And then from there, you have had strikes all over the place here in Riyadh. Because over in this area, it's right here. There's an area, it's actually known as the diplomatic quarter. And that's a place where there are a lot of high residential areas that's there. Basically, the elite live there. So that's a place that they're trying to have things kept away from. But if you could tell, what has actually happened is that as I zoom on out, you have the terminal right here, Al Jabal, and then that's your Ras Tanur. Ras Tanur is the major Saudi refinery on the east. That's been getting hits, and tankers can't sail out of there. And now they created a pipeline. It cost several billions of dollars. They created that pipeline to go all the way across. I would say I think this is about almost 1,500 miles to go over here to Yanbu, right over here. Now, understand also, there's a choke point. I'm sorry. Berenice Troglodytica. Troglodytica. That's kind of hilarious. I think that is. Oh, that's Egypt. Oh, interesting. But right here, this is the problem. This is the problem right here. This area. This area is Houthiville. And they be saying it's Houthiville It's a brand new rocket day. Note all the sunshine and missiles will be flying that way. And that way is north, and that way is over here at Yambu. So this is a really bad neck of the woods. And when you have the Houthis coming through, you're going to have now, let me get back to Google Maps so you all are familiar. You now have the Bab el Mandeb. This is another strait. This is another control point. Do you know that they actually were talking about actually building, because right here, this is Djibouti. They were thinking about actually building an island, or not an island, an actual bridge over the Bab el Mandeb, because you can see how close that is. I think it's like at least, this is at least, I think maybe no more than 15 miles. So it is possible. And then that's about less than 2 miles, you know, a little bit to the land bridge. I think near is this Aden or yeah, they say it's the Thais government, but that's Aden, Adan. So yeah, this is at that point. But all these mountains, they come through, they fire that down. They also have submersibles, the USV, the underwater submersible vehicles that can then target stuff. They also have things on these islands here that they go through and they use for other operations. So yeah, don't get it twisted. The Houthis have lots of options, a lot of options.
Karis Margarita 100 said, "What about the Suez Canal?" So I posted a link in the private chat if you wanted to talk about the Suez Canal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was as of last year. Let me go ahead here. And I'll take the map, because the Suez Canal is just right. It's literally right there at the north. And again, they can target even up to and past the settler colony. And let me put this. I'll put this link in the chat. So, thank you, brother Fast Nickel. So it says Suez, a life under threat. This is the Atlantic Council. Why the Suez Canal security matters for the world. So the Suez Canal is a maritime choke point and a vital waterway for global trade and energy security. The 193-kilometer canal connecting the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. It attracts about 12 to 15% of worldwide trade and 30% of global container traffic, with more than $1 trillion in goods annually, and includes roughly 9% of global seaborne oil flows, about 9.2 million barrels per day in nearly 2023, and 8% of liquid natural gas LNG volumes. Averages 50 to 60 ships transitioning the canal daily, carrying an estimated 3 billion to 9 billion in cargo, and it generates the toll revenues, a major economic lifeline for Egypt. with a record 9.4 billion set in 2022-2023.
That's a lot.
So that's a lot of money. See, that's what I was trying to explain. A lot of this impact, we think that, they're just going to show you that on the surface. That's something that, you're not going to get a lot. When you slow down this economic activity, you always have to think 60 to 90 days. It's a 60 to 90 day window.
Right.
So now, and you're hitting me with these articles, brother Fast Nickel.
Well, I'm at home, so I'm. You were talking about the Houthis, so the article I just put in there now came out on Monday talking about the U.S. and the Houthis.
Yes, because now they're foreseeing the actual danger. And you're going to talk about the danger, but then when you see the danger, what to know about Yemen's Houthi rebels as the U.S. steps up attacks on Iran-backed group. This is March 17, 2025. So this is last year. United States under President Trump has launched a new campaign of intense airstrikes targeting Yemen's Houthi rebels. So this was last year. This had been neutralized. They didn't really step up attacks. They did. They did their little airstrikes. But what they actually did during this time, the reason that the Houthis haven't done anything or entered into anything crazy just yet is simply because Iran has told them don't do it. Iran has told them not to do it, because the reality is once the Houthis enter the picture, number one, Iran knows the Houthis are hard to control. Because once they have once the gloves are off, especially for this war, you're not going to really just turn the Houthis off. That's not how they roll. They don't operate like that. They are literally the wild men of the Arab Peninsula, the Arabian Peninsula, the AP. They are. And, look, all they know how to do is fight. Yes, Tyrus, they are the honey badgers of the Arab world. That, as Canadian Prepper has stated. No, they really are. And they love to fight, and they will shut down anything and everything. And when I say anything and everything, they don't care what flag you're flying under. You see what I'm saying? Oops, my bad. That was Russian. Oops, my bad. That was Chinese. Oh, well. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. That's what they say. Like, oh, well. So, when you unleash that one friend that doesn't care, they just be swinging and knocking everybody out, including you. You gotta be careful telling that one friend to get involved. Oh man, you got Jamal. You got. Oh, you know how he'd be once he gets to fighting. All he sees is red. He'll swing on you too.
That's like getting the Punisher involved.
Yep. He's swinging on everybody. Everybody's getting it. You don't sunk some Iranian ships. Oh, you know what? We did hear a Mayday. We did hear a friendly, but you want to know what? You know how it goes.
Oh well.
Oh. I remember I had worked with an Iranian, or excuse me, not Iranian, a Yemeni officer when I was at CENTCOM. This dude was so chill. This dude was so chill. But I had to laugh because I said under his calm demeanor, I said you know that dude is just a straight up killer. It is okay. Alhamdulillah, it is good. Shwe shwe shwe. Oh, I had met him after I worked with them. I met him a few times in the Middle East when I was doing some of the exercises, and um, they have been literally in a civil war since like the 90s, something crazy like that. Since the 90s.
Wow.
That's all they do. That's all they do. They fight and they fight each other. Matter of fact, when they're not fighting outwardly, they're fighting each other. That's why they're itching. They're like, hey, we don't feel good. We ain't got nobody to fight. Come on, Iran. Please, 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 please. Can I just blow something up? Can I just blow something up? Come on, man. Just one ship. Just one ship. Come on now. Muhammad, no. Nah, I cannot call these guys. They are crazy. Oh, sorry, that was my worst Arab accent. AP, Iran intensifies attacks on oil and gas facilities in the Gulf after Israeli strike, or excuse me, colony strike on key gas field. This is from John Gambrell, so I'm assuming that this is John Gambrell that's with the Associated Press. They're talking about this. This is as of today, updated with John Gambrell, David Rising, and Natalie Melzer. UAE. This is from out of UAE. Iran intensified attacks on oil and gas facilities around the Gulf on Thursday. So this is today. Dramatically raising the stakes in a war that is sending shockwaves. It's not a war. It's just an excursion. Okay? This is just an excursion. All right? Don't call it a war. Don't call it a war. If you do, I'm gonna get Hexeth on you. The press be lying. They be lying.
Have you heard any news on the End Man?
Look, all I know is them AI videos. Oh, the AI videos, man, they got me. They got me. It's a trip.
They're getting more and more realistic.
They are, but you can still see a lot of the idiosyncrasies. Now, I don't have the video on me, but this was shared by Brother Asaph yesterday with me. And this was from, I think it was Steve Banoon or Mark Banoon, the Israeli News Live person. And the video was basically he knows a person that is in direct contact with the BB. And according to him and his contact, that BB is actually not deceased. Rather he's in a coma. And you could and you said you could tell because there are some U.S. personnel or U.S. folks, and so U.S. folks. There were different things in a different meeting that was captured, and you can see like their demeanor and things of that nature when they heard the bad news. Now, I say this, some of these people that are out here, a lot of what they'll do is they'll be triggers, right? well, let's do this leak. Let's put this leak here and let's see who's going to pick up on this leak. Like myself, will I pick up on the leak and be like, oh, BB's in a coma and blah blah? Here's the thing, I don't know. However, when they do have to trigger these leaks, what that means is the rest of the world is not buying the propaganda. So now they actually have to leak, a partial truth. Well, he's incapacitated for right now. Okay, a coma. That's still bad. All right, but he's in a coma. Okay, well, and then they'll see how people react to the coma, because then it will be if they react in a positive manner to the coma. Okay, in a couple days, then we can say, all right, well, he succumbed to injuries. Well, that's a natural progression, because psychologically people would then be programmed to understand, oh, well, we're starting to understand. So everything they're doing, even with what I'm saying, what you're typing, right? Those are all going into the algorithmic inflows of the data calculation of, well, this is polling, that's polling, and I can tell you, it's very sophisticated. I could even give you the in vivo, breakdown on all this. This is what their data statisticians are doing, their data scientists are doing to do what? To get this polling. And then they're even using that for how they're utilizing for the machine learning language, because, they're literally looking at the sentiment. And it's crazy, but your sentiment actually has a data value. Yes, the way we talk, the way we move, the inflections in our voice, it actually has a data value.
Yeah.
Try that on for size.
You know the sad thing, though? Here's the sad thing. The sad thing is people are looking at what's going on with this war, skirmish, melee, whatever you want to call it. And what's going to happen is we're going to roll into April. There'll be talks with the U.S. and China, and everything that happened with the e-files will just all go away. No one's going to get prosecuted like that. It'll be like none of that ever happened.
Well, what do you mean? Like this? No. No, this is the reset. The reset's happening right now.
No, yeah, I'm saying the reset is like this is leading into the reset, etc. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about with all this going on, all the stuff that happened with the e-files is going to just be swept under the rug, and move. Everything's going to move on past it.
No, it's not. No, it's not. What you're with this reset, everything has to have a measure of the loss of credibility, right? This place is now it's uncredible, right?
Right.
There's no credibility. There's a loss of credibility. It's a discrediting campaign. That's the whole process of this. So no, this is why they have been allowed to talk about Epstein, right? So they're keeping that in front of your face, because what they're trying to do, they're trying to create the necessary triggers that then start to, have the internal combustion, right, with the external combustion, right? Hey, this is all part of, the PDF files, and this is all part of the E-Man and the island, and this is all part of. So what are they doing right now? They're creating the layer of instability, because at the end of the day, they want fighting to occur in the U.S. Remember, they didn't get us to fight.
Correct.
That's the whole reality of this. So they're going to keep that alive, and then they're going to continue to say, hey, this economy is now crashing because of certain people that, created this thing, this administration, right? They're now calling this administration the Epstein administration. Why? Because this is what's going on. Now, again, everything that's going on worldwide, and I know somebody said EU attacks Niger, they'll try to, they don't have any type of backing, right? And again, at the end of the day, their supply chain is all messed up. So they don't understand that they have to then deal with the Sahel alliance, the Sahel nations. Now, Africa will then begin to fight back because there's no further supply that's coming through these third-party channels, i.e., from Arab nations. So this is now the shackles are coming undone because now everybody has to go and do things. Hey, Donald, we're not going to go through the port. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to try and get into Africa. You already know that was coming. They knew that was coming. They're going to fail miserably. Because why? Because they even know they don't have any type of backing like that. Because why? Because the money inflows are drying up. So now Europe has to make a real decision here. Do they stop with the destabilization or do they just die on the sword? And I'm going to tell you this, that decision is going to be made probably sometime in April when their weather gets better, when these folks are able to actually go on out there and literally riot. They're going to overthrow the government, I think, and France will get overthrown, and so will Germany. Hey, what else? Because the question has to be asked, what else are you doing? What else are you doing? Why? See, what Trump did, Trump created not just economic peril. Europe has been going through economic peril with this whole Ukrainian situation. I believe, when people talk about the capital, the West, and things of that nature, I believe you're going to have an overthrow of more than likely the French and the Germans. When that happens, then all of a sudden the UK will, switch gears, and then what they'll do is they'll throw on out Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer, his days are numbered in terms of being in power. And that is right now, he is the prime minister for the UK. His days are they're almost over, because when the French and the German riot, and they're gonna don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted. A lot of the military on over there, they're feeling it too. And they've gone through this for like the last, 3 years under Macron? Every April, look at it, for the last 3 years, they have had some sort of a riot over in literally Paris. They've had the same thing in Germany and Brussels, Belgium. So now the people are getting sick and tired of it, because if you think our gas prices are bad, you understand what they're going through. We can't even fathom what they're going through right now. They'll and here's what they don't want to tell you: they will be on the brink of starvation far sooner than any of us.
Yeah, let me
go ahead, Minister Rick.
Yeah, I just wanted to draw. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Want to draw a parallel from the Bible. I cited it before in another broadcast. Belshazzar in Daniel 5 is that's Donald Trump all the way. Everything. And one of the things, that's the passage that talks about, you remember the passage that talks about the writing on the wall?
Mm-hmm.
He's just like Trump. He's a party guy. He's throwing in a ballroom.
Come
The
on.
thing the things that moves him over the line. He goes into the Hebrew Museum and
Mm-hmm.
gets the artifacts from the Hebrew people. So he goes into the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and removes the artifacts of the Hebrew people, and that's a bridge too far for the Most High, and that's when the handwriting appears on the wall, a hand right on the wall, and they called uh, uh, the prophet Daniel was on a Babylonian civil service retirement. But they sent for him. Nobody could read this thing. So they called him out of retirement. Go ring this, and I'll give you this kingdom and all of my half my kingdom for this. And the writing says, this day you are judged. You are weighed in the balance and found unworthy. So the upshot of the thing was that was the end of Babylon. That was the end of Babylon. And very soon, Cyrus the Great, the Persians, the Medes and the Persians, came in and conquered Babylon. And Babylon released the Hebrews and allowed them to go back to their land. In fact, gave them some money for reestablishing their land. So people say, well, history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it does echo.
Yes,
But
it does.
I just wanted to point out that's in terms of your timeline, that was the point where the people were able to go back to the land at that time, leave Babylon and go back, and that was the end of Babylon. So,
Well, also remember, they don't like to tell you this, but in Jubilees and in Jasher, it actually points out the mechanisms of how we left Egypt. Egypt was at war. They don't tell you that. Egypt was also going through tremendous economic suffering. They don't want to tell you that.
well,
Now, in the midst of this, yeah, go ahead.
uh, uh, I just wanted to remember. I'm wondering who Cyrus is
Well,
among the Medes and the Persians. Go
yeah,
ahead.
honestly, and the reality is, chances are, the reality is, Cyrus is probably, and don't quote me on this, so I'm just letting you know, it's probably would be Xi and Putin.
Okay.
That would be your Cyrus. It's probably Xi and Putin, right? So they'll have those titles. Hey, it's not one, it's two, and everybody that's tried to do everything on their own, they've been looking crazy and going crazy, right? Trump saying he doesn't need anybody anymore. All of a sudden, he doesn't need anybody when he was trying to, throw people left and right into the conflict that he started. What that means is what does it say? Look, the king always seeks what? Wise counsel. A foolish person doesn't seek any counsel. That's destruction right there. And you've had foolish people that don't want to say anything or fight back. Oh, my job, or this or that, or I'm going to be blacklisted. Well, there you go. So much for being blacklisted. But see,
Well, it's
when the
interesting.
wicked is in charge, what? The people groan.
The
Now
people
these people are
grown.
grown.
Uh, in the Bible, Belshazzar had the same reaction that number 47 is having. I mean, he totally lost it. I think it said he lost his bowels and stuff like that. But he did when he saw that hand on the wall, and I think number 47 is seeing the handwriting on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Let me do this. Thank you, Brother Fast Nickel, for this one. This is a good one. So you can see how things are going. Because I alluded to Europe. This is from Aswat. Awasat. This is some newspaper. It's in Ashaq Al Assad. Yeah. I I think this may be like I think maybe Egyptian, if I'm not mistaken. This is probably Egyptian.
And it's from today.
Yeah, it is from today. Exactly. So European gas. Sorry, let me jump on into this. European Gas prices jumped 35% after strikes on energy infrastructure. 35%. That's over a third. People can't handle that. On energy, on energy strikes on energy infrastructure. They can't handle that. This is in New World Fuel Station in Leven, New Zealand, March 19, 2026. European gas prices soared as much as 35% on Thursday as fresh strikes hit energy infrastructure in the Middle East. Dutch TTF natural gas contract, considered the European benchmark, jumped to 74 euros before pairing gained slightly. Two waves of Iranian strikes caused extensive damage at Ras Laffan in Qatar, the world's largest liquefied natural gas hub, raising fresh concerns over energy supplies. Oil and gas have jumped since the U.S. settler attacks on Iran began.
And think about that. Europe, they drive small cars. Imagine here where everybody's got trucks and SUVs.
I know.
If we had a 35% jump.
Man, look, I better try to find out where they did with our one brother's technology, where he had the water-based catalytic converter.
Well, the Dutch would be if they're having problems, they'd be the most. They have the most wind power and the most hydroelectric power of any European country, and if they're having problems, then think what everybody else is having.
Yeah, but the reality was this, even though they were putting up the wind and the solar and everything else, there were some studies that actually showed a couple years ago, they're like, no matter what, you're still going to have to use hydrocarbons. Exactly. It was fine. It was good.
I saw those articles years ago that they said you can spin it any way you want. You still need fossil fuels.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it didn't matter. Those are just all for show in their quote unquote green projects.
Yep, all for show.
But now the rubber is literally hitting the pavement, and they know that they're in trouble. They know that they're in trouble. So let me jump to here, because we're about to have, Brother Fastnickel, you and I are about to see the showdown. Showdown is going down. Right in Cuba.
2 shipments of Russian oil.
Uh-oh. This is it. This is going to be the big one. 2 shipments of Russian oil and gas head to Cuba in defiance of U.S. First cargo on course to arrive on Monday, as Donald Trump taunts communist island while administration engages in talks. This was published 2 hours ago. So this is today. We have about, I would say, 96 hours? Jude Weber in Dublin and Joe Daniels in Bogota. 2 vessels heading for energy-starved Cuba, carrying Russian oil and fuel, are due to arrive as early as next week in defiance of U.S. President Donald Trump's energy embargo, according to maritime intelligence companies. If the ships arrive, there will be Cuba's first energy shipments in 3 months. The island was plunged into a nationwide blackout when its entire grid collapsed on Monday, before gradually regaining power on Tuesday, deepening a bitter economic crisis. The Hong Kong flagged Seahorse, believed to be carrying some 27,000 tons of Russian gas, was headed toward the island after appearing to divert course last month. The ship is estimated to arrive in Cuba on Monday. Samir Mandani, co-founder of maritime intelligence company tankertrackers.com, told FT the Russian-flagged Anatoly Kolodkin, carrying some 100,000 metric tons of crude, equivalent to 725,000 to 728,000 barrels, depending on oil grade, was estimated to arrive in Cuba on April 4th. Earlier this week, Trump predicted he would have the honor of taking Cuba in some form, having previously floated a friendly takeover of the Caribbean nation. Now, oh boy, they survived that. When the Cubans survived that, what is that? What does Obadiah say? Do unto her, she's done unto so many.
How is the hammer of the world broken? Uh, the death of 1,000 cuts. So, can you operate over here as well?
Well, now that's the whole reality, because if they can't strike Cuba via economic, so I was telling you how warfare works. That was warfare. That was actually economic warfare being played out in front of your eyes. And it looks as though, because again, if Russia gets impacted, interdicted, if any of their ships get impacted or interdicted, you know it's going to be a fight. And I believe on those ships, those ships do hold Wagner personnel for their security groups. I.e. is this. Is it carrying some sort of satellite technology? Can they glaze the target and send a intercontinental ballistic missile? Could they send a hypersonic to the doorsteps of the United States in international maritime waters? Does it have
is a submarine going following it there?
And they probably, and yeah, you probably have a submarine following it. Yes,
that's
you
exactly
do.
what I was thinking.
But though, for show of force purposes, you got to fire that missile. You already know they got to fire that missile. See, we tested this missile, and now we got the field test. Do we have a problem?
Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0.
Yep. Now this is actually Cuban oil crisis. My goodness. Putin said it. Putin said he was going to bring those ships. Oh boy. Here comes another front of World War III. Right at literally Brother Fastnickel and I's doors.
See, I knew they were going to come get you, Karis. They just found a roundabout way to do it.
They had, yeah. Just when I thought I was out, they're gonna pull me back in. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué?
You put your paper. Your
¿Yo hablo español?
The Marines are showing up on your
míos.
doorstep. The U.S. Marines need you, Karis.
Ay, Dios míos. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa?
And if they talk about raising the draft from 26 to 35, so they have no problem bringing people back into service.
Well, see, what had happened was when I had left, see, my feet got real bad. I started to get these bone spurs. My eyesight, it started to get blurry. I got the sugars. What else? I got. I'll get my VA paperwork right now. Look, somehow I done got dumber. I don't even know what to tell you. I don't even know how. I don't even have coordination. See, I can't even type no more. I have to do speak and spell. Okay.
No telling what I'd be shooting at.
No, exactly. I gotta get prescriptions. I got narcolepsy. I fall asleep on you. Shh. See, I'm not safe. Oh, my goodness. Betty Felder, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate it. Hallelujah. So now, oh yeah, because I said this was going to be a meaty show. This was a meaty show. Oh man, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. This is Tampa Bay Times. You know, you get that nostalgia. You get that nostalgia. Because, you know, honestly, I used to go through that gate just about every day for about a decade and a half. And I'll show you what I'm talking about right here. I put the article in the chat.
Are you talking about where the Tampa Bay Rays play?
No. Let me show you this. Give me a second. Let me show you this. McDill lifts shelter in place as elevated security continues. Okay, I can't get rid of this. Investigation of a suspicious package is ongoing. So this is U.S. Air Force security forces stand guard at the Dale Mabry Gate of McDill Air Force Base after shelter-in-place order was lifted on Wednesday in Tampa. McDill was listed as Force Protection Condition, FPCON, Charlie, which places the base under heightened alert after a suspicious package was found earlier in the week. And so, amazingly, this was done both, it looked like, Monday, and this was also done yesterday. So McDill Air Force Base in Tampa has lifted a shelter-in-place order after it said a threat was made against it on Wednesday. The threat comes after a suspicious package was left near the gate at the Dale Mabry highway entrance on Monday. Okay. The reason that this has me very, very, very concerned, when you have stuff like this at such a rampant timing, see, didn't we talk about this? Was it last week or this week? I think we talked about this week. And I said this. I said, listen, I am concerned because I'm in the area. I do live in Tampa. I'm not that I'm far away from that area of Tampa. But it's still concerning nonetheless, because and it's not just that's where the generals go. That's where you also have SOCOM, Special Operations Command, and you also have CENTCOM, Central Command. That's where they are prosecuting the war. This is it. This is the headquarters of where they're prosecuting the war, where they're coordinating all the logistics and everything else. It's right there. So what they're doing is they're probing. And you now have an adversary that is more than capable of disrupting things. So now, when you have personnel being deployed forward, especially if the personnel are here in Tampa and their families are here in Tampa, now you have a psychological concern because, well, you're not just out there on your lonesome. Now you have to think about what you're doing literally directly impacting your families at home.
Karis, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
In this type of warfare, somebody could literally be piloting a drone from that base, a drone in Iran from that base, right?
Um, I'm going to say this, theoretically they could if they had the technology. They do have some drones. There is technology that you can do, like solar, and solar could actually continue on in there. Now, would that really be feasible? I don't know.
I mean, I'm talking
Honestly,
about the U.S. forces piloting a drone. Would they be uh, be pursuing the battle from that base over in there, or they'd have more forward components to
no,
that?
no. So unfortunately, I'm going to say this. The U.S. is still kind of late to the drone game because the U.S. was always still about conventional forces, right? Hey,
Okay,
we got,
man in the plane, yeah.
yeah, exactly. We have pilots, we have B-2s, we got all this stuff.
Yeah.
Drones are, in terms of tiers, there's different altitude levels. Drones don't really hit high level altitude that a bomber would get, and things of that nature, nor do they actually have a payload that can be very effective. So that would be like piloting something and then blowing up a few vehicles. Oh, we blew up a few cars.
Just a Hellfire missile or something like that. Well,
Yeah.
the second question I want to ask is, it could be like a game show if it weren't so deadly. The game show would be real threat or false flag. You know, real threat or false flag. What I mean is that uh, it would not seem to be in the interest of the Iranians to strike anything here with the American public opinion so against the war. So, but
You,
then you have the wild
yeah.
card is somebody's uncle or somebody's child or somebody's relative over there that Eastern island nation deleted over there may have a axe to grind and act independently. I mean, how can you assess the risk? I guess they're having the same problem.
Well, yeah, because now these threats can now be, and that's what they were looking at. Can these threats be homegrown? Right? You've now have Iranians that have been here for about a generation or two, and honestly, it all just depends. That doesn't even have to deal with the Iranians. It can also deal with, just even the Arab population. And there's quite a sizable Arab population here in the Tampa Bay area. So one of the things that people have to account for is that especially between 2002 and up to now, Tampa has been big with a lot of the Arab community because number one, when you are fighting a war, you actually do employ a lot of Arabs. They do a lot of things, especially within the intelligence community. So if you're at a headquarters level, that's what's going to end up happening. And you may have, this is why OPSEC is very important, operation security, because people may have an operation on them and not even know it. They may not even know that, hey, they may be used, their pattern of life may be used of when they go in, when they leave work, what they do, how they move and maneuver about, right? And then get an understanding just within the mosque or whatever community center or things of that nature to be able to articulate, right, some sort of how they may begin to move. Because here's the thing, they may not necessarily have access to the internals of an actual building, but if they have a tracker on a car or things of that nature that then provides the actual GPS, well, then they can geolocate where that car is actually at, and then also be able to geo-rectify where the actual facility or the smack dab maneuver of or position of that facility is. Now, that can also spell and portend damage, especially when, if people are going to lunch, if people are having meetings, because you get a lot based off of the operational tempo with how a person moves. And if that person's in a quote unquote like relationship, or something, hey, can I meet you for lunch in there? Oh, yeah, you can meet me for lunch. I should be done with my meeting around this time. Oh, okay. Something simple like that. Okay, well, they have a meeting here, here, and here. And depending on how they're able to really analyze what that pattern of life is, that's when they can start to detail and to deconstruct what and how things may go. Sorry to give you a little bit of that intel.
Well, the technology
Processing.
exists, then it's just whether the will exists.
Well, and now you have more of a will, because again, these folks have claimed worldwide jihad. Worldwide jihad. That so the will exists. It's now because everything has become, look, now they've decentralized, and the Ayatollah has not given any type of stand down order. He actually said, look, it's no mercy. Now, if he's saying that and the intent is to literally drive all U.S. forces, not some, all U.S. forces from what? From the Middle Eastern region. Well, then guess what? That actually has more credence, because when that happens, and guess what also starts to happen? Well, what do you think Africa is going to be doing? Hey, listen, you're not going to come here and destabilize us. We saw that game. Get out. What do you think starts to happen? Remember, what's that?
They get moved out of Africa, leaving all that infrastructure they built for the incoming exodus.
Well, yeah, it's that, but I'm going to give you something a little bit more pragmatic. Once they get moved out and away from the resources, remember Zambia, they're getting mad at Zambia, and because they wanted Zambia to get more resources. And now you understand Zambia and Zimbabwe have said no. They've actually have issued the taunts to get the U.S. out of there. You also now have Botswana, the president of Botswana, saying no to the invite, right? The king summoned you to the White House, and he said no. You see, all of these things here, these are measures that it's showing weakness. And weakness has been shown in the Middle East. And now that is reverberating. The only reason why we even have an economy, let's just face it, why did we have an economy to begin with?
War without end, amen.
No, the economy here in the United States has always been built off of terror.
Yeah.
Terror and threat. If you don't do this, then I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to delete you and your whole family. Oh, yes, sir, master. We gonna get to getting to right on it. We gonna reap lots of crop. We gonna pick lots of cotton. Yes, master.
Well, the military mechanism for projecting terror is can be seductive, because that is not the same military you need to go against a near peer opponent. So
yes,
while you're terrorizing weak people all over the world, look how mighty we are, you're not fighting anybody. So you get to a near tier opponent, and you mess around and find out. So we have a colonial. Well, the British went through the same thing. They had forces all over the world with these colonial wars, fighting tribesmen and everything. Then they move into World War I, with a near peer opponent or a peer opponent, and it decimated almost a generation fighting, trying to use those same tactics they were using in colonial wars. And we're in the same situation.
So Ninja Firewall says, remember how the first Babylon has fallen. The people didn't know that their government had been fallen and taken. Yeah. And it had been. And they didn't know, right? They were like, hey, open the gates. Why? There's nobody there. Huh? Huh? Where did they all go? They said, where did that is something that the
So you
that's
sow
something.
regime change, and reap regime change.
Well, and honestly, I think just to me, I think that is the actual plan. That is the actual setup, right? Hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and then I believe, just to be honest, I I don't know. I know people aren't gonna like this. I know certain people aren't gonna like this, but I believe that after this whole thing, whatever this administration is doing, this is just my opinion. You don't have to get mad or get angry, especially for folks that feel very strongly about um, the current administration. I'm just giving you my analysis. But I believe, just my opinion, I believe that as they're cooking the books, because they are, we just saw that article. People, if you haven't seen what was going on with Joe Kent in his interview with Tucker Carlson, I believe personally that this administration will probably defect and will probably go to another country, dragging along with it um, trillions of dollars of what they can get their hands on. That to me is what I believe. I believe that all of this stuff, it is, hey, we're starting a war, we're doing this. They probably put this on the clock. Remember, Trump was like, hey, we're gonna do 2 to 3 days, 3 to 4 weeks, and a couple, maybe a month, September, we need another couple $100 billion. I believe that what we're actually seeing is like the world's biggest smash and grab.
Well, it's
And
confirmed that the Venezuelan oil, that they're taking the deal they cut with Venezuela and is paying money into a private offshore account that
exactly.
they have control of.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. All these things. Um, Look, when you smell smoke, there's usually fire. And that is to me, well, what do you do when because here's the thing. Now he's lost his base, and and I only bring this on up because of what has been said, but you now have Nick Fuentes calling for Trump's impeachment. And if you don't know anything about Nick Fuentes, he's like heavily MAGA. Heavily MAGA.
he's out of Chicago.
Yeah, your neck of the woods. And right now, they're asking for him to be impeached, not just in the primaries, not or in November. Look, you don't even have till November. Shoot, you don't even have till these next couple of weeks. This is why they're trying every single day. They're telling them that they're trying every single day to try to have another country talk to Iran, and Iran said no. There's no mercy. They're looking like Boo Boo the Fools.
So, Karis, I got to ask you something then, because when you came on Saturday,
Well,
I mentioned
then he has a golden
about
parachute because
about Trump
like
being removed for JD Vance.
Zelensky over in
Sorry,
Ukraine can.
yeah, Mr. Rick, yeah, Brother Fatstickel's talking. I don't know if you can actually hear him because sometimes
I'm sorry. I'm
that's,
sorry. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I can't hear my stream has been acting crazy all the time.
Yeah,
I guess they
don't
got me
worry.
on.
It is an impact of StreamYard, because again, generally speaking, on the because um with this channel, they keep us under these algorithms, especially with me. They don't like they do not like my channel because I've been going a bit too hard in the paint with a lot of stuff. Look, we're at warfare. We're in war. So I've told people this. Again, I don't know how much longer I may have before YouTube tries to pull the plug on me with certain things, but I'm not denigrating any type of a nationality, person, or things of that nature. But what I do try to do, I do try to provide enough of the analysis and impact so that you can understand what is actually happening and how people are really feeling in this particular environment. And by and large, I'm equating that their struggles because as a people, as a group, as a demographic that has gone through these struggles personally for over 400 years, and now seeing how the rest of the world and the rest of the nations are being treated, now they're realizing the impact. And it's not funny because it is very, very dangerous, because when people feel devalued, when people feel that they are just a commodity, they're just chattel, they're just a this or that or what other derogatory slur that's being used by them against them, and for a group that wears a red hat, and they were telling people how they feel about them. I didn't say it, they were saying it. And now when the rest of the world gets sick about how they've been treated, because why? Because sorry, they know how it feels to be treated like a black person, an African American, an Israelite. They're now having their wake up moment. And that's not just in the rest of the world, that's also here in the United States. They know what that pain is going to look like. As a matter of fact, most of them are feeling that pain right now, especially when they're up going to work, when they're trying to figure on out, well, am I going to have a job by the end of this week? Am I going to have a job by the end of this month? Jerome Powell just already showed you there is zero private company job growth, virtually eliminated. Actually, it's not eliminated. If he's talking about zero, you're already at a negative. It's not virtually zero. You're negative. You're not growing. The economy is gone. I didn't say that. We just showed you the articles by Jerome Powell. We just showed you the article by the EJ Antoli, the person, the chief economist over there at the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS.
They're learning what it is to live in a place where you just don't matter. And
Yeah.
that's sobering and terrifying if you haven't been hardened to live in a hostile nation as we are.
Well, yeah, and they didn't know what those hostilities looked like, because imagine you've been betrayed. Imagine that you are an Arab country. Hey, we got all this stuff for you, and Iran at any point in time can just unload its cluster munitions, its ballistic munitions, its drones, any type of aerial advanced technology that is an armament. And they're like, all right, let's just show it and let's see what happens. Because why? Because they ain't got no more air defense. Their air defense is gone.
Karis,
Oh,
I'm
so go
I'm
ahead, go ahead.
let me ask you about the. I'm told that those radar installations that were knocked out by the Iranians have to be rebuilt with rare earth metals that we don't have, that we literally would have to get from China to rebuild them if we were able to even rebuild them. We don't even, I mean, how big a hegemon and how arrogant are you to think that you'll be able to supply your military with supplies from the people that you're fighting and rattling a saber at? It's crazy.
Yeah, let me have Brother Fastnickel finish up his thoughts. Sorry, Brother Fastnickel.
That's
And
okay. I was just saying, if you remember when you had your show on Saturday, I had mentioned about Trump being removed. I'm not saying it was, you know, how he got removed. I don't know, but him being removed and replaced with JD Vance. And at the time, you said you didn't think so. Are you changing your mind now?
I don't here's the reality. I don't think that it will be anybody from this current administration that would be in charge. You know,
You,
there
you know the name. You know the name that I heard pop up that was a
yeah.
surprise is Trump's vice president from his first term,
Oh, Pence.
Pence.
It and honestly, it could be. Um, there could be a lot of things going on with different things. Look, here's the reality. You may have cases going forward via the ICC and the ICJ. Again, when people start to lose money, especially over in Europe, they start to lose money. They start to throw people underneath the bus. But I wanted to answer this. He says, Covenant Awakenings, you are minimizing our experience in America to financial. We've been mistreated in every capacity and make the least of all career paths, trades, and no. It wasn't about minimizing our experiences. What that was about was explaining that the other folks have now felt a little bit of our pain when it comes to the capacity of the quote unquote American job experience, where they have had the ability to be uh, fluid in their career paths. They've been able to, well, if I don't like this job, I'll just find me and get me another job tomorrow, right? That's what they've been able to do. However, we know that our career paths are usually very limited. If we're out of the job, if we're out of the job, we will be out of the job for a couple of months, not a couple weeks or a couple days. Or we just say, you know what, Father, help us and give us understanding of how to do things that can sustain us. They're now feeling the impact of what we feel, and their mental and emotional capacity, it's not built like us. And that's not to demean them. It's just it's not built like us. So when they do experience these hardships, which they're experiencing right now, what was the first thing that they did when they started to experience those hardships? Remember back in April when, they started to really get the impact from that trade and everything else, and they were starting to get the impact because the employers were saying bye-bye. What were they doing? Come on out. Come on out with us. Remember when all of the government employees were being impacted and they had the government shutdowns, and they wanted us to go on out there and to protest the government shutdown and to get people's job? We didn't do it. Okay, sorry. Now you know how we feel. I'm sorry. We'll be praying for you. Right? Isn't that how that goes?
or the cares.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I just historically,
Yeah.
uh, when the labor struggles were going on in the 30s and earlier, and uh, the unions, and there were black and white people in labor that were working for better salaries. They put down the Jim Crow, whatever they had difference they had. They were going against the ruling class and the industrialists. Uh, the black people stood out then because when the Pullman power porters struck the railroads, then everybody else struck after
Yes.
I think so we really led that labor thing, and they shut down the rail, and that's when they really started to get the middle class lifestyle when they had to have concessions. So we were the catalyst even then of going to lead. I forget the head of the union of the pulling part quarters. He's famous. He was in the registration. It didn't lose me, but I'm saying we were the catalyst then. So
Yes, we were.
I guess that's what they're looking for us to do once again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not happening. We're the insurrectionists. Even Dr. Martin Luther King,
Man, you
he
better not
said,
talk about that. We're not no insert. Hey, algorithm,
okay, well, I mean,
algorithm. I'm
it goes back
sorry,
to
I don't know who
slavery.
this man is. Algorithm,
Okay.
please.
Okay. No, I mean, going back to the slave insurrections, that was but Dr. Martin Luther King, he said in his speeches that he was going to bring the fullness of what the Constitution meant, and the documents. He gave credence to the soft part of actually being what the paper was written on the paper, and he said
Mm-hmm.
he was going to bring that to light. So again, the catalyst for the American mythos of being actually a republic or a democracy, and exercising the courts and everything. When our energy is gone from it, then it doesn't matter. Like this man in in administration has been able to throw all that out because we're not fighting for it.
And you made those are some excellent points. Those are excellent points because that is the nutshell of the quote unquote African American experience here, where yes, we are the catalyst. We're the quote unquote change agent, right? We are those that will go through and we move heaven and earth. And then when we are asking for help, it doesn't get reciprocated. Oh, you know what? Oh, well, but as a people, we'll bend over backwards to help other people, even to our own peril and detriment. That happens. That's what we do. So we're always an oddity because we're oddballs. Generally speaking, we're oddballs. Oh man, you really helped and you knew what's going to happen. Yeah, I know. Just like the one dude that helped out that white supremacist that was getting knocked out by his own people. Mind you, because we really weren't on out there protesting. He was getting knocked out by his own people, and it took a black guy to literally save him up in Minneapolis. Y'all remember that one? And then after the black guy saved him, then he was still, the white supremacist person was still talking mess, still talking slick.
They need us to put on the cape.
Mm-hmm. And by and large, what did we do? We actually denigrated, as a community, we denigrated the black man, the African American man, and we said, "Why did you do that?" No, they get no more protection. They get no more, help. I'm sorry, there's no more help. And even in this time, I'm sorry, it's impending economic peril. You get no more help. It's not that we're trying to be mean. It's not. We just have understood the survival mechanisms that is what it takes to be able to survive this. And for a people that has constantly taken us for granted, we are number one. What's the word? What's that terminology? We're self-reflecting and we're healing so we can better be able to help others. So in this time of your calamity and peril, leave us alone so we'll be able to heal. And then as we're able to heal, then we're able to tackle all the problems that you all created.
Keep hope alive.
Keep hope. We'll pray. We're gonna pray for you. You're in our thoughts. Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
Our Elohim has taught us to stand down.
we at this time we would like to be able to help you. However, and and you know it's not denigrating them, because by and large they have been lied to. But the problem was, we've been saying this, you all got lied to. You got lied to on this whole white supremacy thing. You got lied to on this whole vanity thing. But you enjoyed the lie. They enjoyed it, and now they're getting the fruits of their labor. They're getting the fruits of their lie. And we're absolutely saying, don't include us.
Yeah, there are not many jobs out there for overseers these times. So the ruling class has got to look out for themselves. So you buffer classes, you just have to bear the weight. It is what it is.
Listen, you didn't want to help us when times are good. So why are we going to help you when times are bad? Ooh.
Karis, that's literally what is happening over in Iran. They're understanding, they're thinking that they can just decapitate and kill people and still expect some type of consideration, sympathy, or empathy. Well, we can go back to again. We can talk. It's crazy. The hubris to think you can get that after you brutalized and murdered people. But that's how they treated us. To think that, we can still come to the table after we're doing that. The fact that we didn't just totally erupt in this country. They think everybody is acting like that. That the fact that we worked through the system all those years and tried to make it work, it's crazy. We were in like a battered woman in a marriage all those years, and when that person gets enough, then it is what it is.
I don't know. I don't know if you all have been seeing, like, literally what they've been saying in Iran. Usually I'll listen to Professor Morandi. He is a prominent Iranian, or I would say economist and, like, international politics professor. You'll see him on YouTube. He's usually on out there a lot, but he articulated it, and not only did he articulate it, but you also had Joe Kent that articulated, what was going on. And now what you have is that you have the first, pill bottle that's actually really articulating everything that we've stated with Joe Kent's resignation. And now I'm telling you, now I look at that because there's different dimensions to that. It's different dimensions to that. Especially with Joe Kent. What is he trying to do? What is he going to try to foment? Is this going to be the antithesis of, what's going on with the White House? Hey, is he going to then be that rallying cry of the dissent? What is this going to look like? And to be quite honest, would he be used? Is he going to get ready to be used as the anti, right? The anti establishment order? Hey, I've been in here. Did Tulsi Gabbard, did she put in? Is she gone yet? After especially that abysmal hearing yesterday. And yeah, so Sister Marguerite, we're gonna have to Margita, we're gonna have to get some articles on that one. So a lot of this stuff, I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff is so new. You all will get stories before we get the stories, because we are on that news cycle. Yeah. Is he gonna, and not just activated in a political arena, but is he going to be activated as a as a force, as a force component, as a force component? Is he going to be, hey, we have to rally up the troops per se? Is he going to be a person where, will the generals fall in line? Because why? Hey, he's seen this. He's seen how everything has happened. And now you see that all of these things are going on. Oh, boy. Thank you, Brother Fast Nickel. My goodness. Tulsi's. Let me put this on in here. What is this news cycle? 15, 30-minute news cycle now?
Yeah, I just put another one in there from today as well.
My goodness. Yeah, the one the Wayne person, the Mark Wayne Mullen, Tulsi Gabbard's Iran war testimony and a March Madness preview morning rundown. Plus some Department of Homeland Security contractors told White House officials they were asked to pay advisor Corey Lewandowski. So people are still getting paid even when they're not even in the government. That is, boy, oh boy, isn't that nice that you can do whatever you want? That's crazy. They don't care. They don't care because they don't view money the same way that we view money. That's their system. That's their God. That's their Elohim. And I get it. March 19, 2026, 7:12 a.m. So this is today. In today's newsletter, this is from Elizabeth Robinson, Marissa Martinez, and David Hickey, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Deflect senators' questions about the threat posed by Iran. A conservative activist group and teachers' unions become unlikely allies fighting big tech in schools, and street soccer is gaining popularity in Mexico. Fueled by, all right. So here's what to know today. Tulsi Gabbard declines to say if Iran posed imminent threat to the U.S. And Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, declined to say if Iran's nuclear program represented an imminent threat, deflecting questions from lawmakers during a Senate hearing yesterday about whether U.S. intelligence backed up White House statements on the rationale for starting the war. Now you start to see a very, very illegal war that is raging. And this isn't like how it was years ago. This is something that you have now in this age of information. Gabbard has stayed mostly silent on the war since it began on February 23rd. Her reluctance to offer a full-throated endorsement of President Donald Trump's decision to wage war on Iran, unlike other cabinet officials, renewed questions about her standing in the administration. Remember, they weren't even having her go to the White House for like 2 weeks up to the attack. She wasn't even seen at the White House. During the hearing, Gabbard omitted language from her written remarks, stating that Iran had not tried to rebuild its uranium enrichment capability after the U.S. airstrikes in June, an assessment that appears to contradict Trump, who has said Iran was working to rebuild its nuclear program. When pressed about why she'd skipped portions of her remarks, Gabbard said time was running long. The Senate hearing came a day after Joe Kent resigned as the director of National Counterterrorism Center. In protest of the war in Iran, Kent argued that Iran posed no imminent threat and that the joint U.S. settler airstrike campaign was unnecessary. Kent has been simultaneously under investigation by the FBI for allegedly leaking classified information, a source familiar with the matter. So everybody is going to go after legal warfare when you are in the Don's administration. That's how that goes.
Brother Karras,
Yes.
it occurred to me, I'm going to ask you, Trump is a religious leader. He is like a pope. He's the head. He's the religion is supremacy,
Mm-hmm.
and because it is a religion, the propaganda mechanism is to promulgate that religion. Uh, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not like seeing is believing; it's believing is seeing.
Yeah.
So as a religiously, he's talking about what I see. Oh, we're winning victories, or we're doing something like that. He's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not
Things not
seen.
seen. Yeah,
he
it is. He
he
is
is
talking
literally
his
doing
way
that.
to the miracle, is he
Yes,
not?
and it's
He-
butting up against the pragmatism of wait a minute, the machinery of YT supremacy cannot do this. You're overreaching. We can't do it. And he's faith. Yes, we can.
He
It's
said, I
possible.
could
I
do
can see
all
it.
things
Uh,
through Orange who strengthens me.
that, that's what I'm saying.
He
So
is.
they're saying, wait a minute, we haven't got the horses. So that's what's happening. The very YT supremacy that they rode to get into office, to put before the people, threw out meat before the people, and the maggot people, the maggots, whatever they call them, and even some throw some over to the black people. All that's exploding because that religion is taking them down. And as a faith figure, he's not giving up power. So they have to challenge the Pope, which they
Mm-hmm.
want to do since they pushed the religion to even get into office. So when you actually have to administer something, they have not mastered what the Iranians have, is balancing their religious faith against the pragmatism of what do we need to do to actually fight a war. The
Yeah.
Iranians are doing that better than the U.S. is.
Well, remember. Here's the thing. Since basically since World War II, the U.S. really hasn't won a war. You did have, you could call it, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Did we win? It was a cessation of hostilities, and that's the reality of it.
Not a
It was a
strategic win.
cessation. Yeah, it was a cessation of hostilities. Iraq stood down, Kuwait stood down, and Iraq got some money, and they were cool with things. And a lot of people don't understand um why what was going on with that whole war to begin with. Technically, the war was, Saddam Hussein was mad that Kuwait was drilling under their their sovereign soil and stealing oil from Iraq.
Yep. They
And
had the
then
technology to drill sideways, and we're going
yeah,
up under his land to take his oil.
yeah. So at the end of the day, yeah, the US got the win, but what it did was, they Iraq got, money because of, the war, and then that sustained the regime. But again, the Iraqis didn't like that. Or, not all Iraqis. No, the US didn't like that, because then they spent the next, literally, a good part of a decade to constitute going into Iraq. And we know that that was false, because remember the whole weapons of mass destruction that they had Powell, Colin Powell, he fell on the sword for, and that was still even one in his memoirs, that he was still sore about, because they literally destroyed that man's honor for what he did in the military, and all the good things that he was doing under the Trump administration, and they threw him under the bus.
They use their tools, and broken when they're breaking, they throw them away.
Yep.
Which points back to that admiral over here that resigned. I have so much respect for him.
Yeah, Alvin Halsey. Yeah, you said nope, you're not going to do me like a Colin Powell. He was out. And he actually got more respect out of our community than their community. They were mad. Oh, you don't want to do this, and now nobody's talking stuff anymore. Nobody's talking anything anymore. You could tell he made the right decision. He made the right call
at the right time.
Mm-hmm. And now
So what
6 months later, look at this. 6 months later, and look at all this craziness that's going on.
what became of our Marine commander in Africa that did the opposite for a while? Have they removed him, or did he get
Oh yeah,
from the
he's been
stage?
removed. They backfilled his position with I think some sort of Air Force general. I forgot what her name is, but yeah, he got removed. No, it's a him, but it's an Air Force general. He is in charge. They said, "Oh, we can't look." They said black people are too sentimental.
He might suddenly get religion and realize he was black, but he might. I so speed might have got to him over there and said, "No, we can't trust this one."
Yep, yep. Oh, that is not what you signed up to do. Oh my goodness. So yeah, we're seeing all of this going on, because again, this circus, these distractions have to go through. Look, to me, I don't even care about domestic policy. To be quite honest, I don't really care about it. All of these, these updates and these testimonies, it really doesn't mean anything. They're all in cahoots. This is just another, bread and circus on the political level.
Kabuki dance.
Mm-hmm. When Trump is talking about hosting WWE at the White House, come on now. Come on now.
Still got the World Cup coming here.
Do we? You may have the World Cup coming, but it doesn't look like you're going to have a lot of people participating.
You know what's encouraging, though? The scripture says that when you see these things happening, know that your redemption draws nigh. I think a lot of times we get frustrated thinking, "Oh, we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do this," and the Most High has basically told us to stand down, and He's working it, and we're just looking at this happen in real time. These levers and things are going. That's going to make for our exodus, but it's a operation of the Most High. The Most High. Maybe the only consent we'll have is whether when He opens up the mechanism, whether we'll leave or not. He won't take consent for us any more than He takes the consent for receiving the Messiah. So I mean, we'll have that decision, but He's doing it without us.
Mm-hmm. He is, because listen, it's all His plan. Because if not, I'm not saying the people here, but most of our people would be like, "No, we still love Babylon. Don't let anything happen to Babylon." Look, over in Iran, they said, "Nah." They said, "No mercy." They told Iran said, "No mercy," and this is now the model that these other countries are looking at. When this thing is all over, the global order is going to change. Actually, the global order is changing in front of our face. This is why when I say impending economic peril, yeah, it's right ahead. I don't know if it's days. I don't know if it's weeks. It could be even hours. It could take months.
Well, it only takes one man to beat down Debo for the whole community to rise up.
But the reality is, as you had stated, Minister Rick, this to them, it's more than just Trump. It's more than just Trump. Trump is a symptom, but this is the spiritual apparatus of vanity. This is it. That's what white supremacy is. It's just a spiritual apparatus of vanity, right? Well, vanity says I can beat them in 2 or 3 days. Vanity says 3 or 4 weeks. Vanity says, till September.
And they're all in the choir clapping and singing USA, USA, USA. They eating that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're thinking that we're going to be on out there like, old school Apollo Creed, right?
Yeah.
In the ring, old school Apollo Creed. Come on now.
Music playing, national flags up and red, white, and blue, and going to go in there and they stepping into, don't know what you're stepping into. Run up against Cyrus the Great.
And it is pretty laughable, but for real, when people are like, this dude lives in the 80s, he really does. He really does. And I'm sorry, the Rocky Balboa and Rambo, that ain't happening in today's world. It's not. I think that these cards that they're going to play, because again, I'm still waiting with the what's going on with especially potentially our MIA soldiers, potentially captured soldiers. They want to have a ground force or ground element, supposedly, that's going to increase. That's not going to bode very well for the military.
Well,
So, yeah, go ahead.
the military industrial complex is is the grift. So they haven't provided the soldiers. That's the least of the thing. That's the ultimate thing. All these siphon off and all these billions of dollars. When 911 happened, they were investigating I don't know how many billions of dollars. After an audit of the Pentagon, they just disappeared. So they literally have not equipped the soldiers. Just like we aren't equipped to fight. The money is stolen. So uh, we're going to send our soldiers in the field when we are a paper tiger. There's no way we can't support. We've degraded since Desert Storm and Desert Shield. We don't have a legitimate military, which is where Rome was at during the end. They were just hiring proxies to do all their fighting. I mean, we don't have it. Uh, it was a joke about they were who was it? One of the presidential candidates joked about Russia. They said they are a gas station with nuclear weapons. Well, uh, we make financial wars on people. We are an ATM with nuclear weapons because we've been able to just get away. Sanction without actually doing it. No guns to back it up, and we don't have the guns.
Well, we remember everything has been done by proxy. Yes, things have been done by proxy. The problem is that nobody wants to be the proxy anymore. Nobody wants to be the dummy. Who wants to be set up? Nobody wants to get set up. That was painfully clear this week, this Monday. And now the fallout to that is now everybody knows the game. Oh, are you gonna set yourself up?
Yep. America was supplying the ball, but now nobody wants to play.
Yeah,
Yep.
the Kurds got the memo on that.
Yep. They said no, that's not what we do.
When I was in the employ of the Postal Service, otherwise known as the Rambo Retirement Home, and we had all these 10-point veterans that fought in the war, and we had a guy come into our unit, and we were talking about things, and we were always suspicious about people working around us anyway because you don't know what they are. So this guy, we were in a conversation. He said, "Yeah, yeah, and those Kurds are good fighters, you know." And we were looking at him. Really, we just kind of backed away from the guy because they're people you don't know what they've done. So I mean, we've been embedded doing these surreptitious things among these people all along, and it hasn't worked. But we we're stuck in that cycle. We got to keep on doing it. We're still doing that. So we had U.S. forces fighting in Ukraine. We know we had those, and they're in Iran as well. So obviously they caught a few of them or a lot of them. So I guess it'll all play out. We'll find out.
Yeah, it'll all come out in the wash, but you got to remember, Iran, don't get it twisted. Iran is still very much legalistic, and they're still trying to play the international legalistic game. Okay, even though they got hurt, they're hurt. This is a they're not playing around with the U.S. anymore. Okay. However, what they did say and what's been reported is that they're going to try to get their money back, especially with the damages. So they're telling them, okay, you want to blow us on up, we're still going to get our money back. They're going to make ships pay tolls to leave. So the ships that are there in the Persian Gulf, guess what? They're about to start leaving. Now the U.S. is going to say this, oh yeah, see how we opened up the Persian Gulf? And it's like, okay, that's funny. No, y'all didn't.
So the side deals are what's going to allow them to leave. The countries that are going behind and negotiating with them, that's gonna form the movement actually, and Iran's going to cha-ching and get paid for all of that.
Yes, they're going to get paid, and actually, that will make Iran a more formidable adversary because then they're operating with more funds, and these funds are going to be not in USD; they're going to be in the yuan.
So they
They're going to
become an
totally
economic power. So they're becoming
yes,
they still taking economic power as well as
yes,
military power.
yep. And who would be susceptible to that is that you're going to have Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, and Iraq, and in Iraq, they will be more than likely definitely paying that toll. So what does that mean? I look. I think this is what I believe. You can quote me on it, or or I say this in the interim, in the short term, the shortest of the short term. I believe that they'll have about less than 2 weeks. That's what I believe. And just my thought process, America probably has less than 2 weeks because now Iran has literally laid out the economic conditions. I'm going to tell you this, people don't like to get blown up. In Tehran, you saw them people back on Saturday. They were walking the streets as bombs, as buildings are literally blowing up. They were filming themselves. It's like another building blew up.
Like a
these
fireworks
folks,
display at their celebration.
these folks are saying Allah Akbar. That means God is great. We can't do anything about it. We just gonna continue to show on out. I said, oh, that's hardcore. I said that's something that you don't mess with.
So as a result of this war, it appears that the beast is hurting more than the harlot riding the beast,
Mm-hmm.
and starting to turn his head around at the rider on his back and say, "Wait a minute now, what? You're getting kind of heavy there." So I guess it'll happen when it happens, but it ain't looking good for the harlot.
Mm-mm. Yeah, look, Dubai, they done cracked. Dubai is done. Riyadh, if you're targeting, and that's what's happened, they're targeting Yambu. Look, and that's what I said. They haven't even introduced the Yemenis, because you introduce that firecracker, man, you don't know what's gonna happen in that Southern Arabian Peninsula. They said we they said everybody's getting deleted. just just let me go. Put me in the game, coach. Everybody's going.
Derek,
Oh,
you were stationed in that part of the world. What do you make of? They're saying that this head of Saudi Arabia was in lockstep with Netanyahu in terms of urging the U.S. to prosecute this war because he saw Iran as a threat to him. So I don't know, is that a Shia Sunni thing or whatever? I don't know.
that's actually a lie. What Saudi Arabia and Iran were doing, they were trying to normalize relationships. Even up until about it was January and February. So even as you had the negotiations with the US and Iran, um Iran was trying to create normalizations ever since June. After June, Iran and Saudi Arabia, you can look this on up. They had many high-level state meetings. You know, I think they even had Pezeskian was even in Riyadh, I believe, in like October, November timeframe.
Oh, that's right.
So
Weren't the Chinese trying to negotiate? They bring those sides together too, as well.
yes, exactly. And those sides have been together. Now you understand they have been actively trying to rip that up. And the false reporting, I've had this conversation in the background. The false reporting, it's just false reporting. The problem is nobody believes it. And not even, look, the Iranians, no, they don't believe that. Neither do a lot of the Saudis. That is only, okay, when I talk to you about disinformation, you read that here because you read that from sources that are not credible. Look at where that's attributed from. It's attributed from probably the settler colony coming out with that, false report.
So the first casualty of war is the truth, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, that's not for that. So the Saudis over there, they know what's going on. That's honestly for Western audiences. It's for Western audiences. So they know. And really, a lot of them are feeling very betrayed. Hey, we're supposed to spend billions on this system that you don't even have you don't even got the replacement parts, and you don't even have the missiles.
Or they don't make weapons, they make money.
Yep.
So coming out of this, they're likely to kill the petrodollar. They'll really bury the petrodollar after this.
After this, it's no longer going to be a petrodollar. It will probably more so be a petro yuan. It'll be a petro yuan, and brother Fastigal, that is very appropriate because, this is really what's happening as people are trying to mitigate different things. So this is why, you're having volatility in the markets. You're having volatility with Bitcoin, crypto, you name it, because during this time they're trying their best to really go through and it's not to create the illusion, but the illusion is not as strong as it once had been. The illusion isn't. So here's this. Thank you, Brother Fast Nickel, for this. This is as of today, March 19th, from Olivier Acuna and Omkar Godbol. Crypto.com cuts 12% of staff as it integrates AI across the business for efficiency. The exchange laid off about 180 employees as it restructures and rolls out enterprise-wide AI to drive efficiencies. People are continuing to lose their jobs. They continue to lose their jobs. So what to know? Crypto.com has laid off 12% of its roughly 1,500 person workforce, or around 180 employees, as it restructures and doubles down on artificial intelligence to boost efficiency. Chief Executive Chris Marszalek has warned that companies that fail to rapidly integrate AI into their operations will be left behind, following the firm's $70 million purchase of the AI.com domain and broader industry spending on AI. The cut marks the latest in a series of workforce reductions at Crypto.com and come amid similar AI-linked layoffs across the tech and crypto sectors, even as the exchange secures conditional U.S. approval to launch a federally regulated crypto trust bank. So this is Singapore-based, and yeah, this is happening. This is happening in real time. Brother Fastical, what say you?
If you look at the article I just put in there about the SEC, this is just showing you that with what they're doing, they're not even going to need traders down in the market. Everything is going to be AI and blockchain.
Mm-hmm. So you're telling me that things are going to precipitously change. Things are going to precipitously move. Things are going to move rapidly because they're trying to move in a different speed.
It is, but you know, the sad thing is they will roll out the universal basic income, and because people will be able to pay their bills, etc., everything will be fine to them.
Yeah. Now you may not be able to go on vacation.
No.
Don't think about trying to leave the United States. Your money's not going to be they're going to say your money's no good here. Here's the link that Brother Fatsnuckle just sent. SEC, that's the Security Exchange Commissions, approves NASDAQ's move to support tokenized securities trading. The SEC's approval lets NASDAQ test blockchain-based versions of stocks that trade and settle like traditional shares. By Christian Sandor, edited by Nicolesh D. That was as of yesterday, March 18th. And so basically, the Security Exchange Commission's approved NASDAQ's plan to let certain securities trade in tokenized form, integrating blockchain technology into U.S. equity markets. Under the new framework, eligible NASDAQ participants can opt to settle trades as blockchain-based tokens that trade alongside traditional shares with the same ticker prices and investor rights. So basically, they're saying this. Your money is trapped. You're not going to have any liquidity in the dollar. It's gone.
You'll have imperial credits. The tome they put on us of being the welfare state, then the whole country is going to be a welfare state.
It is. If you'll be lucky to have a traditional dollar. You'll be lucky to be able to use that dollar even outside of the U.S. Honestly, what that means that you're not going to be able to settle any transactions outside the U.S. It won't be honored, because how then do you trade? How do you get a traditional meeting of the value of wealth? This is why all these countries had to go off of gold because they saw what was getting, or excuse me, go back to gold because they saw what was getting ready to happen to the dollar.
Carry.
No, you can't just, tokenize something and then have your token to be at unlimited. You don't get unlimited tokens to the video game.
You do if you run the casino. You can print chips
No,
all
no,
day.
no, not, no. That's what makes blockchain so beautiful.
Well, let me ask you this: in the
It's not
movie
unlimited.
Sinners, all the time
It's not,
I'm
go
over
ahead.
talking over Fast Nickel again. He's not showing up on the thing. Go ahead. I'll be quiet. What is it now?
No, I was
I
just
was just
saying that what's the difference with blockchain and cryptocurrency? It's not unlimited. That's what makes it so great. It's not like
Well,
a printing press.
I hear what you're saying. That's the that's the form it's supposed to take, right? There's always a form it's supposed to take, and then there's the form it will take, right? What as MAGA's finding out, it's the promise that you voted for as opposed to what you really voted for.
Karis. Am I clear? Am I clear now? Uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
uh, in the movie Sinners, they had built this whole system and they got everything and they got their liquor and they got their beer and they're doing in there and the customers start to come in and they looked at the intake said these people don't these aren't dollars, these are tokens from the sharecrop store.
Mm-hmm.
We can't operate in this, how are we going to make it with without real money? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're going to have. We're going to have we're over here sharecropping. We don't own any
Yeah.
land. We're working the land, and we just got tokens from the company store. It's all that don't have any value in the real world of economics, and that'll be our the bulk. That'll be our serfdom in the U.S. of A. On the old plantation where they actually just moved the fence, and you're still there.
Yeah, it's and again, yes, digital assets will be controlled. It really will be. They can say that the token is going to be a fair commodity. I'm just going to tell you, when in the system of this whole time in this system has anything actually ever been fair? And the question and the reality is never. Now that's how they sell people. Oh yeah, it's going to be this. It's going to do that. That's what it's supposed to do. Will they do it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why? Because if they don't have a way to leverage control, then why even put it on out there? They won't do that unless they have the back door to leverage control. That's what's happening in crypto right now. That's what's happening with Bitcoin. Look, that has always quote unquote happened. Even when they're going to this new digital yuan, it's supposed to be quote unquote fair. They already know that. But what that is, well, as long as we're able to do something, right? That's going to be the thought. As long as we're able to, do something that may seem fair, it's better than the alternative, right? Do you see how that goes? It's better than the alternative because you know what the alternative actually looks like. And let's get some final thoughts because I got to get on out of here. Excuse me.
Well, it's just on the last point you talked about. I can finish up on that. Uh, it's like the crypto was the wild wild west for a while, but they finally put up a fence on the free range, and they're going to rein the cattle in and put the control grid. And the only alternative will be our Elohim system, the kingdom, which will allow his people to exit this,
Mm-hmm.
exit thus, and go to the land of milk and honey, where his currency will reign supreme. And I'll end on that.
Hallelujah. Absolutely. Thank you, Minister Rick. Brother Fast Nickel.
Well, if you're gonna mention crypto, the one thing I've said, and I've been right. They're killing it to force people to sell.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a small window. There's a small window that those who hold on to the end and don't sell are going to do well. But by 2030, forget it, because as the one comment said, it'll be part of the D system. It'll control you. So what you need to, before 2030, you need to have your assets, and you need to have whatever it is you're going to have, or whatever you're going to use to fight with. You need to have it in place a year or two before 2030. But once 2030 comes, it's over.
Yeah, and I'm always tending to think that, right? What they say at 2030. Look, remember this, and I think we all have to kind of understand what's going on. Remember, people won't be in place to fight until this time, until that time, and now you're now seeing that the infrastructure for World War III is already here.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So they softball, these hard line, or these deadlines, or these hard times, I would say. Hey, we're not going to do this, or we won't be able to do that. No, it's already here. And I'm going to tell you, there's going to be things that take place, because now the behind the scenes is, hey, Europe, you better get your folks ready to go. Because there's no greater way to control the people than through their what? Than through their resources, through their economy. And now with this impending economic peril, that peril is actually going to be on the Europeans first. We already see that. And before I go to kind of belay the point, with the World Cup, I'm sorry, but who's going to try to get on out to any type of World Cup events when gas at that time could be around, the national average could be around $6 or $7 a gallon? Who's going to show on up?
Could you imagine if countries boycott the U.S. and not show up for the World Cup?
Yeah, that could be the case. Remember they didn't have the Olympics that one year. Before what? Before was it it was World War II. They didn't have the Olympics.
Oh, because because they had the 36 Olympics, which
they didn't have the 40.
They didn't have the 40.
Yep. So could that be something we're looking at? It could be. So, yeah, I would like to go to the World Cup, but shoot, if you're paying, an astronomical price for tickets, and got to eat, I'm sorry. I got to make sure my family eats. That would have been a nice World Cup, but somebody done ruined it for everybody. So,
well, you talk about tickets, with the World Baseball Classic, everybody talks about the crowds, but they were expressing how affordable the tickets were, because it doesn't, it's looked at as an exhibition. But when you look at all these other sports, whether it be the Super Bowl, etc., minimum tickets, $1,200, $1,500, it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
They priced out the average Joe, they priced them out.
Yep. Yeah. Nobody's going to people aren't going to be able to afford the World Cup, and it's going to be really abysmal when there's going to be like nobody there. It's going to look very embarrassing. It's going to be very, very, very embarrassing. And if you think things were bad last year when they're saying boycott the World Cup, think about right now. Yeah. So we need to continue to pray for each other. We need to continue to ask the Most High to give us understanding in these times, because we are in some interesting times right now. And, I do take comfort to this. We have our brothers and sisters on the continent, and they see what we're going through. Trump has highlighted this. So I'm not too concerned because, again, we actually have better opportunities, more so than the average quote unquote American or African American or whatever you want to call that. As African Americans, we're literally good.
Yep.
The great thing is we have been building our relationships on the continent for literally this moment. This is why when I said, hey, we need y'all's help to this isn't a group, this isn't an individual push. This is a group push. And we need to do something right now while the dollar is still good. And this isn't just for African Americans, it's for the diaspora. I get it. It's for our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. It's for our brothers and sisters in South America. Look, this is how this daisy chain goes. All right. So thank you, Brother Fast Nickel.
And just remember, everybody, we've got 11 days left to raise that money for the land.
Yes, 11 days, family, and we can do it. We can do it. And right now, this all falls on you all, right? We can do it. It's our mouths. Imagine how powerful our mouths are to talk and then to direct to q2a.org for this hospital project initiative. Please visit q2a.org for the hospital project initiative today. And I will put that into the chat right here. Hallelujah. That's how we build. That's how we build right there. Again, thank you all for your support of this channel. It is a blessing. A lot of things are coming on, and things are moving at a very, very exponential rate. We may have troops by April. We may have, and that's in Iran. We may have other things going on, even beforehand. Look, I don't know what's happening, but I do know this. In the event that something substantial does happen, I will be on here and I will be updating our family and giving you the best type of, analysis and insight from what I know and how I know things. I can't tell you how I know everything because, look, I can't burn sources, but but it really is interesting when you see everything, looking the way it looks. So again, thank you, family, for your support of this channel, and thank you, family, for your prayers. That's what it is, because the prayers of the righteous availeth much. All right. So with that, I gotta get up on out of here. And with that, family, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom. Peace and blessings, Yasharel.